tragedy was being used by certain segments of even our community and outside our community to ask for a radical revisionism of something that is really beyond dispute. And that is that sexuality and intimacy is something that is only between a husband and wife in marriage. Now, that issue should never be conflated with the vicious murder of groups of people of any persuasion or lifestyle. No scholar in the history of Islam has ever justified such brutal acts of vigilante justice. No scholar has ever justified killing people in this manner, or even any innocent people in this manner. And there is no question that any crime that we consider to be a moral crime has no repercussions in this world, in this land. I have to be very explicit here. Moral crimes in this land are between the people and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't go around enforcing our version of Sharia when it comes to drinking alcohol. We don't enforce our version of Sharia when it comes to any other matter. So let nobody think that we're going to enforce our version of Sharia when it comes to same sex. I mean, we have to come to terms with the fact that we are living in a land that has its constitution and its laws. But those constitutions and laws allow me the freedom to preach morality, even if I don't force that morality on other people. I have the right to preach about human decency, about haya and modesty. That's my right. Don't take that right away from me. And don't challenge that right because of a vicious, brutal, evil massacre. That is an emotional tactic. That is not an academic or scientific one. SubhanAllah, if somebody goes and murders somebody that's basically doing something unethical, for example, drinking, are we now going to say, oh, rethink your stance on drinking in Islam? You guys are killing somebody. No, it's a one-off incident. Some deranged person who clearly is a sociopath, clearly has issues of a psychological nature, went and did something. For us to challenge the fundamentals of our faith based upon that is simply not feasible. It's not rational. Unfortunately, what I found was that some Muslims and many people outside of our faith, they were somehow linking our religiosity and our conservatism with the acts of this person, and that is definitely not the case. We need to have a nuanced and intelligent discussion where we have the courage and bravery to say, look, we have our understanding of intimacy and sexuality. This is what we believe about what is permissible, what is impermissible, but we also believe it is impermissible to force my vision and my understanding on other people. That is something we as Muslims as well are going to have to come to terms with. We are living in a land that has its constitution. We're living in a land that has its laws. Our case is similar to that of the Muslims in Mecca, the Muslims in Abyssinia, where all we have to do is preach. But we cannot compromise the truth of what we preach. And that was why I felt it very important to draw this middle line where we stand by our principles and we say that it is an indisputable fact. No scholar in the history of our religion, no sect, no movement, no understanding has ever said it is morally permissible to engage in premarital sex. How could anybody say same sex is allowed in Islam? There is not a shred of legitimacy to any difference of opinion in that regard. Unfortunately, the conversation is shifting. Many people are writing books and writing articles and trying to say, oh, Islam allows same-sex marriages. And I say that there is no legitimacy to that argument whatsoever. Now, does that mean that we discriminate, we treat? No, I said this on my Facebook post. When the same-sex marriages were made legal by the Supreme Court, I gave a whole khutbah, it's online. And I said very clearly, Muslims, oh Muslims, come to terms with the fact we're living in a land that has its own laws. Like all of you know, your friends and colleagues at work drink and they party and they go and do things that are un-Islamic, but you're still nice to them in work, you still get along in a professional level. Why then can't you understand that a person who might have a sexual preference other than yours doesn't mean you can't get along with them at work? You get along with them fine, they're your friends at work and whatnot. That's nothing to do with our theology and our rituals, but we're not going to compromise on truth. And we're going to preach the truth. And that truth is that we believe that it is unhealthy and it is detrimental, and we leave their affair to Allah. Remember, we never judge an individual. Remember, we never judge an individual and assign Allah's punishment or reward to them unless Allah tells us.